Good morning. Welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Nunez. Along with producer Oliver Iwani, our very special guest today is Rio Rancho girls and boys powerlifting coach Ali Salata. Her girls, the powerlifting champs of 2024. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ed.
You know, Coach, it's a new event, and that's why I wanted to have you on. When I saw it, I'm like, we have to give this event some attention because the NMAA. Tell us a little bit about how it came about. It came about during COVID. I believe after COVID, it was recognized as an event, and there were some amazing records that were set this weekend. And you know, you were a big part of that. I remember when you started. I've known you for a long since you've been 10 years old. I've known you a long time. You know,
probably younger than that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really proud of you. That your girls were the state champs. But tell us a little bit. Of course, there's your son Zane. We're glad to have him with us too.
Hi.
But
Hi.
tell us a little bit about how this all came about. This event, this powerlifting, and I think it's a great event because it gives kids another chance to showcase their talents.
So it started for the boys in 2020. Okay. In 2020, they did it virtually since we were social distancing back then. And in 2021 is when the girls came into play. So the both boys and girls competed. Excuse him, sorry. both boys and girls competing in 2021. Our boys came on top. There wasn't as many girls, of course, but everyone competed in all classes, 1A through 5A. In 2022, our boys and girls competed. The boys competed in the 5A. Girls competed against all schools. Boys came on top again, second year in a row. And girls, we took fourth. I believe we only had 6 athletes at the time because it's not that big. So girls are still getting into it. They're still, oh, this is an actual sport. I can test my talents, my strengths. So coming into this year, we had 60 athletes between boys and girls join our program. So the numbers have just genuinely increased over the last 3 years. And it's amazing. We have 40 boys and we have about 20 girls. So our ratio is getting up there with girls participating.
You know, you mentioned that, and I got to ask you this: your own background. You played, of course, your dad, the famous, legendary Wally Salata, state champion in 2016, a former head man at St. Pius, Los Nunez, Rio Grande, very good friend of mine. You know, back in the day, and we'll talk about his presence at state and what that meant to you. But back in the day, you're a basketball player. Could you have seen yourself? We said this 10 years ago. Could you have seen yourself being a powerlifting coach? I mean, weightlifting. I started lifting weights about a year ago, and I never lifted weights. I was a basketball player, but I've been lifting weights, 4 days a week. But I'm not a power lifter. There's no way. One guy, Stephen Cuomo of El Dorado, lifted almost 2,000 pounds over the weekend, and you said you don't think that record's going to be touched. But I'm telling you, there's already somebody that's saying, "Hey, man, I want to get that record." We don't know what's going to happen. But could you have seen yourself? Talk a little bit about that, because you're a basketball player. You did track too. You've been involved in track for a long time. You've helped your sister Georgia. You coached her. You got your brother Walt. I don't want to miss out on anybody. Your mother Sandy have been a big support system for you. But talk a little bit about that. How did the evolution of Ali Salata coaching powerlifting, how did that come to be?
Well, believe it or not, Ed, I am one of 17 coaches on my dad's side. And you know how deep our family goes with coaches. So I did not want to take that route. After college, I was like, oh, I have my degree. I want to move on. I want to make some serious money, like put my degree to use. But athletics is where my heart has been my entire life. So God works in mysterious ways. And after I graduated college, I got a call from my former coach, my high school coach. He was like, "Hey, I need a throwing coach." And I was like, I didn't want to do this, but it was a calling. So I went for it, and I ended up getting a 2-time state champ in the discus and shot put Kamira Decker back in 2018. Her school record was just broken by one of my athletes that we'll talk about. She was a power lifter. She just broke it yesterday at the Sepulveda meet. She broke the discus record.
That's huge, man. Because Kamira Decker was a heck of a basketball player, but people may not remember a heck of a track athlete as well.
Yes. So I've had some very, very talented and great athletes that I've coached alone in the past 7 years. But when it comes to powerlifting, I don't have the credentials. I've never participated in a powerlifting event. I've participated in a strongman competition, but that's completely different from powerlifting. Powerlifting is squat, bench, and deadlift. In college, I got into lifting. I didn't really lift too much in high school. And when you get to the college level, it's a completely different ballgame. You have to work out, you have to get stronger, you got to get faster. So transitioning into whenever I got the coaching position, I wanted to incorporate more strength and conditioning, more workouts, because it just made the athletes better. And I'm talking specifically for my throwers. So whenever powerlifting came into play, most of my power lifters were my throwers because it was in the same season. It helped them. Rancho's throwing programs have been top dog for, I would say, since I've been there the past 7 years. We've had a strong throwers group. Now, when it comes to the girls powerlifting, this year we didn't have as many throwers, and that's okay. That's okay. But we had a whole bunch of different girls who you would have never thought would come into powerlifting came on top this year. Like they came out of nowhere. Like it was insane. I had a band kid, I had a girl, I had swimmers, I had throwers, I had volleyball girls, I had athletes of all kinds. So
really?
yes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what is interesting was whenever we competed against Lovington the very first year, 10 out of those 12 powerlifters from Lovington were cheerleaders. And they won state.
Yeah.
Like it's
really?
like you never know. You
Okay.
never know what
You're
girls can
schooling
just
us here. Yeah, you're schooling us here because that got my eyebrows like, okay. Continue, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But when it comes back to the whole coaching, how did I get into coaching?
Oh my God.
I never thought I'd be a coach. I never thought I'd be a powerlifting coach. I always thought I'd be a basketball coach before anything, following daddy's footsteps. Yeah. But I got the opportunity. Coach Vince Metzger, who's the former AD at Rio.
Great guy. Great guy. Yeah.
The guy, him and Dylan and his son, Dylan was the one who started this whole powerlifting gig in the state of New Mexico. So Vince was like, I want you to help with the program. I think you'd be great with the girls. And sure enough, here I am 3 years later. We got our first state championship. Like the first year as an official sport, like it's an amazing feeling. It's to help build a program at Rancho, where I came from, in a sport I never thought that I would be a part of.
Which makes it, I think, even doubly satisfying because we already know, we know your father's background, and Walt is on the bench, as an assistant, and I was teasing your dad. I saw him. I was teasing your dad like, "Hey, Coach, when are you going to let Coach Walter talk, man?" And as I can tease your dad like that, right? And well, Ed, he's always got this philosophical answer for me, man. That may or may not make sense to me, but it makes sense to him. That's all that matters. So I think, Coach, Al, I've known you for a long, long time. I'm really proud of you because, you found your own niche, right? You found your own niche, and it's not so much connected to dad. That's okay. You're a coach by nature. You try to get away from it, and it pulled you in anyway. And there's something else that you could have never predicted. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think the thing about the cheerleaders, I raise my eyebrows, but they're always lifting up anyway, right? They're kind of, people. I think people don't understand it, and we should give them more credit. Cheerleaders, dance teams, they work very hard. They're strong. They can do flips and things that guys couldn't even dream about doing. Let's be honest, right? So when you said that, I was like, God, I never would have thought that. But they're always lifting, and right, they're
at least somebody's body weight, at least.
And you said they won. You said they won. 10 of them won. You said
yes. 10 of the 12 of the power lifters were cheerleaders.
Okay, so and then you said you had some from band and swimming. Mm-hmm. So what kind of word is getting out? The message must be getting out that this is a fun sport. It's individual, not so much team oriented. It's you and the weights, deadlift, squat, and what else was the third one?
Deadlift.
Okay, so the message is getting out there somewhere. Your numbers have increased every year. Then, what you're saying?
Yes. So you're able to take 12 state qualifiers to state. We had 20 girls total. So the girls are obviously having fun. They're taking it serious. They want to win. They're very competitive. And it showed this weekend. My girls were not going to give up unless it was it was theirs to beat. It was theirs to lose, excuse me. But they locked in and they wanted it. They wanted it as bad as I did, but I'm not the one lifting. They're the ones pushing and pulling those numbers. I'm just there. I'm just there for this and this. That's what I'm there for.
So the techniques and and there's a lot of technique to be safe on the squat and deadlift, and you have to be safe, things like that. What have you done as a coach to look at technique and get better as a coach? It's still kind of relatively new to you. You did win, and that's great. But what have you done as a coach? What mentors do you have as a powerlifting coach that maybe have shown you some techniques that have helped your girls?
So prior to me getting the job, I was a personal trainer right before COVID hit.
That's right. Okay, I remember that. That's right.
So I was used to learning how to critique and how to speak to different individuals, because one thing you tell someone can go out the other ear for another person. You have to learn how to adapt to their learning techniques. How does this person learn the best? How are they going to be a sponge and absorb what I'm trying to tell them? And I loved being a personal trainer, and then COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, I lost my job and then ended up getting pregnant during COVID, having a product of quarantine. Mm-hmm. And then things just kind of fell into place and how we're here now. But I have competed in a strongman competition. If you've ever seen one of those, they are insane. So with stones and axles, and it's deadlifting cars, it's hard. And the only thing that I can relate to these girls, I mean, like I said, I was never a power lifter. I never had this when I was in high school. The thing that I can make sure these girls understand is, hey, I'm going to help you. We're going to get through this together. And you just need to fix a few things here and there. The physical part isn't the hard part. That will come. It's getting into these kids' head like, hey, you are more than capable of doing this. You just have to trust me, believe in what I have to think, and just do it. That's the part that gets these kids. Making sure you have faith and believing in them, and they show out.
The motivating part, which comes, a lot of that could have come from dad, right? Mom too. I don't want to leave out Sandy. She's played a big part in what you do. I still see here the dad stomping on the sideline. I used to tease him about that. Coach, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about your team's performance at this week's powerlifting after these messages on the sports desk.
Sounds good.
Ball, 2 strikes. They'll check it first, and they've got him. Hunter Martinez was not expecting that one.
Savage takes off, and he gets there. Second stolen base for Kason Savage today.
Cranked into left center field, and that one is gonna fly. A 2-run homer for Brandon Hennessy, and that makes the score 18-2 now.
One of those balls good, as soon as it left. Looking at how far over the fence it is gonna fly.
Swung on and missed, and then the steal is late. Elijah Gonzalez takes a little bit as he gets Mario Otero running, and he's out. This is probably one of the highest most leverage situations in the game. Elijah Gonzalez through the short side. Elijah Gonzalez will bring home 2 and park up at first.
Rio Rancho now runners in second and third. Vigil hits a hot shot. That's going to get through. 1 run scores. Here comes the second one, round third. He'll trot in easily.
Elijah hammered to left field. This one's going. And board the train. It's out of here. Elijah Gonzalez, a 2-run shot to left field. The A-train keeps it rolling down the tracks. The Hawks lead is now 7.
That one is hit high in the air to center field, and that one is going to fly.
Whoa! I am amazed, Gabe. We were just talking about
Left
that
center
wall.
field, and right away it's 4-2 Cleveland. Hanging curveball, and he didn't miss it.
Oh, he did not. That was...
Oh, he just kept going and going and going.
And that one's going to be popped. Giving chase Quintana. Did he catch it? He got it. What a play by Quintana.
This will be chopped up. Weber! That's a web gem up there. Makes up for the earlier play.
A burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm your host, Dan Nunez. Our very special guest today is Rio Rancho powerlifting coach Alex Salata. The Ram girls were the state champs, and you hosted up a blue trophy. The girls did. You were part of that. And you know what? I don't care what you hoist that blue trophy up in. It means something, man. You were there when your dad won in 2016, and that's huge. How did that feel to you and the girls when at the end of there's some great pictures that you sent, Coach, and I don't know if you can see them or not. There's some great pictures of the deadlift, and I think this is the deadlift.
That's Cecilia Gomez.
Yeah. But how did go? Look at this. I just got to watch this real quick because how much weight did she have on, Coach?
She had 330 on.
Jeez. Does she do any other sports?
So she was a volleyball player. So I had her as a sophomore. Funny story. Okay. I had her as a sophomore and she stopped doing powerlifting because her AAU coach for volleyball told her to stop. And with AAU volleyball, they take it very seriously and traveling every weekend. They want their girls not to be hurt. Well, she came on top this year as a state champ in her 220 weight class.
Now, there's oh man, they got the medals there, and anytime you get anything, there's a lot of people there at the Rio Rancho Event Center. I got to ask you this. Now, the reason that maybe he didn't want her to do volleyball, did it make her too stiff? Was he worried about that? Because it needed to be. There's a great picture of you and your team. Was he worried about that? Her getting too stiff and not being able to be limber in volleyball? What was the reason? Do you know?
I just think he didn't want to hurt herself because when you are working out during the week, you are pulling some pretty decent weight, anywhere from 80 to 92% of your max on a squat, bench, or deadlift. So you're pushing pretty hard. But when the athletes are smart and they take it seriously, they're not doing hard lifts. If they have great technique, if they have a strong core, they'll be good. That's why a lot of multi-sports athletes succeed in what they do, is because they go on different ways. They go different ways. They work out in the gym, they work out in the weight room, they do cardio. If you do that all, it's going to make you an all-around great athlete. No, and not just one sport specific. It's going to make you all around.
A lot of these girls, they do more than you mentioned: cheerleading, volleyball, swimming. You got athletes from all different eras or different areas participating in this. They don't do one sport. Tell us, when does powerlifting start? And then with the season and it just ended. So when does it start?
So we started preseason at the end of November, for about a month and a half. And then season started the first week that they got back from break, January 9th, something like that. And it just ended this past weekend. So it was a very long season. In my opinion, it was way too long of a season. Basketball is 4 months. Powerlifting, now you're not lifting every week. You should not be lifting you should not be maxing out every week. You should be having a meet every 3-4 weeks for these kids to max out and try and get their numbers increased. Some of our athletes participated in one meet back in January, and she didn't compete until state because her numbers were no one was touching her numbers or coming close to her numbers. So we figured we just save her throughout the season until we get to state. Save her body.
It makes sense. So you have to think a lot about that because you're right. You don't want to max out every time. They've got to conserve their strength, and it looked like the ones we saw that they were at their best, man. And I love to see that, though. It's individual, right? It's not hoops. It's not football. It's not baseball. It's not softball. It's you. It's you, man. It's you. It's
you in the bar. You in the bar. That is it.
I really enjoyed watching just the small clips and you being the champion of 2024. Talk a little bit about, we had to ask you this, but Coach Wally Salata, your dad was out there on Saturday, and I think Friday and Saturday. And what advice, just his presence alone meant a lot to you, having him there. Coach Paz, he's known now, he's a very proud grandfather, but what did his presence mean there to you? What did it mean to have him there?
So being a coach's kid your whole life, you're in the gym every single day, every single weekend of every single season. There's no off season. So you grow to be a gym rat. And I think that's why I have came down this path, is because athletics has been my whole life. I've loved the competition. I've loved the work. It's me. It's made me who I am today. And my dad has been through this process with me my entire life, since the day I was born to the day 2-3 days ago I became a state champ. But when my dad won it in 2016, I ran down to the floor. They were telling me, I can't come on the floor. And I was telling them, well, my dad just won a state championship, so I would like to be on the floor. just to be there with him and embrace that moment of everything you've worked for, all the hours, all the stats, all the video watching, like it paid off for this one feeling, this one moment, your one shining moment, it paid off. And to be there with him, like that's what I wanted. I wanted to experience this again. And I experienced it with the boys back in 2022, 2023. But there's something about the girls, this group of girls, these group of 12 girls that just came together and wanted it more than just themselves. They wanted everybody to be a part of it. Because yes, it is an individual sport, but at the end of the day, it comes down to a team total. And that team total takes home the blue trophy. And they did it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's got to be a great feeling because you mentioned I don't care what the blue trophy is in. I remember when your dad won the championship, he just put his hand. He didn't even move for a while. He was on the bench, and I still remember that. You know, like I said, your dad and I have been very close friends for a long time. And I was, you know, not reffing at that time, so I could say, hey, I'm glad he won a championship. You know, I could be a fan. You know, we've got a couple minutes left, and I want to turn the page a little bit towards you as an official, as a football official and a basketball official. You know, you just finished up, I believe, your third year. Your second. Talk a little bit. You know, I've been meaning. I officiated 22 years in basketball. I've been meaning to get out there and watch you. But talk a little bit about your officiating, your budding officiating career, because you got a state playoff football game. You just mentioned to me, Socorro and Hope, and I had to laugh because you said Coach Ocampo, it's all over you. And you know what, Coach? You're going to learn. I know it's hard at that moment, but it makes you better. It makes you tougher. And it's not going to be the first time. But talk to us a little bit about your budding. I'm so proud of you. I'm very proud of you, and I can't wait to watch you work. But talk to us a little bit about your budding officiating career, which really is just in its infancy. Talk a little bit about that.
So funny story. When Lori came on to Rio Rancho, when she got the Rio Rancho job.
Lori Mabry.
Yes. I had a part of me, I was like, should I coach? Let me see. But by the time that she came on, she already had her staff picked, which I was totally fine for. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go officiate. I'm going to go make some money. I'm going to go do what I enjoy, but I don't have to worry about having a team on my back. But officiating it's completely different from playing. It's completely different from watching. And it is hard. It is a very hard job. You can't get every call right. You just can't. The game is too fast. You're not going to catch everything. You want to have a nice flow of the game. But it has been so much fun. It's out of all I've done a lot of jobs, Ed, and this has been one of the most satisfying jobs. Yeah. Now with the state championship, it's kind of top tier, but officiating, it's my second year doing it. I just enjoy it. You learn something new that you need to work on every single game. But like being a coach, you have to adapt to players. You have to adapt to coaches. However, you have to adapt to fans. The fans are the worst. And what I want to do is I would like to do is just keep a whistle in my pocket over the summer and just be like, here, you have a problem? Just come here, stand with me and make one call. I'll be right here. I'll be right beside you. Come do my job for me. But
we'd always like to do that, Coach. We're going to have to wrap it up, but I'll tell you one thing. Good luck in your career. You're going to be great in both the 2024 powerlifting coach of the coach of the Rio Rancho Rams, 2024 girls champions, state champions. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach Alex Salata. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Ed. I appreciate you.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.